Welcome to another Illuvium Community Town Hall. I'm Rich. Many of you know me. I'm a community manager, among other things. But yeah, I'm glad everyone could make it. We got a big audience here, 120 plus people. Glad everyone could turn out for this. We got some big announcements this week, and yeah, we got a date now, so everyone should be pretty happy about that. We got a lot of stuff to cover today. We have a bunch of community submitted questions. We're going to go over like the launch date announcement, explanation of why we chose the dates we chose, some recent internal changes within like Illuvium in general, development updates, and then we'll kind of dive into the Q&A session after that. And if we have time at the end, we'll take some questions from here if we haven't covered everything that you guys have questions about. So yeah, we can go ahead and get started. Kieran, how are you doing today?
Hey man, doing really well.
Good.
I was a little bit sick last week, and so not being sick feels really good. Put it that way.
Yeah, definitely. And it only gets worse as your kid gets older, believe me. You just bring home
I keep being told that. That's probably out of all the things that I've been told since having a child. It's been, oh, you think you're sick now? Get ready for daycare. And
and public
yeah.
school. Yep.
At this point, yeah, she's going to be homeschooled and never leave the house. So
just like dad, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, cool. Well, you want to dive right into launch date and about July 25th and why we chose that?
Yeah, let's do it. So, yeah, firstly, thank you to everyone. I scanned through the audience, and a lot of familiar faces that are with us today. And so I just wanted to say thank you to the community. Obviously, there's been a lot of ups and downs over the last 3 to 4 years, depending on what you call the real start of Illuvium. And a lot of you have stuck through the good and the bad, and we really appreciate that. The intention was never for us to be launching this late, and that's just the reality. There was a bunch of learnings that we had along the way. There was a bunch of additional scope that we added that makes the entire universe so much better across the board. And yeah, but if you've made it this far, we really, really appreciate it. Obviously, there's there was easily a way to justify saying, this is taking too long and I'm out. So again, for that, we really, really appreciate it. And yeah, it's super exciting. So the 25th of July, we go live, the real thing, no takebacks. And I'll just explain a little bit how we got to that point. So as you know, right now there's the ability to go and play Arena. You can play Overworld. The only one that you can't play in its sort of final base form is Zero at the moment. That's still the alpha game. But for the most part, you can go and try everything out. You can go and sell things on the marketplace. You can buy fuel. And all of this is on testnet. And so it's working. And so you might be asking, why not the 30th of June, which was the last point in Q2 that we could have gone live? And the reason is we've been juggling a few really, really big new features that the Overworld team, Zero team, Arena team, backend have been going super, super, super hard on. I talk about these incentives that I've been giving to the team. A lot of that is around these new features, and the reason is I think it takes the gameplay, the overall experience to the next level. Like it really, really, really starts to get up to a point where you're like, okay, these games are genuinely competing with mainstream. When you add on then the ability to buy and sell freely with the fact that you own all of these in-game characters and items, it starts to make a really, really compelling case for people to come across from traditional gaming, not just the people that we see in crypto gaming at the moment. And so I've been talking to the council over the past, I would say, 2 to 3 months. And the reason for us waiting until this point before we actually made an announcement is we needed to get a grasp on how far away these features actually are. The main one for Overworld is combat. The main one for Arena is Gauntlet mode. And then there's obviously a sprinkling of other different features. And so we needed to get to a point where those teams basically had a proof of concept that we were happy with. And it was in a place where, like the announcement says, we're not guaranteeing that all of these features are going to get in, but it's definitely the intention. And even if we get a few of these features in, right, out of the list, I think the list had like 12 or 13 items on it, it's going to make the experience so much better, right? And so with that being said, the council agreed. Certainly internally, we agreed. The admins agreed that a few weeks delay after 4 years of building something to make it to make the experience so much better across the board makes sense, right? Like, obviously we don't take it lightly, and in an ideal world we would have all these features in anyway, but given the size of them, and given that they weren't on the radar, they were never promised, and there's the possibility of us getting them in, it just makes sense. And then on top of that, an additional 3 weeks of testing it is always going to be beneficial, right? We're getting up to a point where if you've seen, we're adding sort of between 1,000 to 2,000 players a day at the moment, which is really, really good organic growth. And we're going to get up to a point where we're stress testing the system with thousands of transactions every single day, and or tens of thousands of transactions every single day, which gets us more and more confident. Plus, it allows us to build in a feature where if something catastrophic was to happen, we would be able to stop and fix that thing before the economy actually keeps on going live. And so, with all that said, a 3-week delay, it just makes sense, right? There's so much benefit there. So that's addressing the slight delay here and explaining the new features that are coming.
Yeah. And I think, overall, I think just Unity sentiment after the announcement agrees with you.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, let's on moving here. One of the other big things, team members leaving, moving on. Johnny, Nick is here. Hello, Nick. Have you been wondering impact on development? How this will?
Yeah, so it definitely won't affect our timeline. We made sure of that, and uh, while a lot of those people have officially left, unofficially they're still helping us out across the board. Even someone like Nick, I speak to on a regular basis. He's gone over to the ETH Lizards, I believe, and he's helping those guys out. So it's none of these departures are situations where there's disgruntled people that hate Illuvium and don't want to see us succeed. Literally, all of those people still have a very, very large stake in Illuvium, and they want it to succeed. Someone like Johnny really hasn't left. He's just gone down to less hours, and as I mentioned in a post, I think I put it in token chat. A lot of these guys are actually taking either no wage or a very, very small wage, which, because they are so senior, that has helped out a lot. And then in turn, they're also saying, whatever we can do to help, we're happy to do so. And so it's been really, really nice to see there. But just in terms of generally speaking, right? Like, it's been a crazy 3+ years for most people on the team. Like, and I mean a really, really, really crazy period. I think when the dust settles and you look back and you think Overworld has been built in this 3-year period, Arena has been built in this 3-year period, Zero has been built in this 3-year period, countless DeFi applications have been built, and we've also had to build it on chain, which for a scope of a project this size is insanely hard. Just work, and it's not like we're integrating onto a blockchain that's got 150 games that are live, and all of the different back-end integrations that we need exist, and everything has been tried and tested. We're literally working in real time with IMX on so many different things to say, hey, we need this doesn't exist, we need this doesn't exist. And you add all of that together, considering as well that we're a brand new team, as in we'd never, prior to 4 years ago, released a game before, it starts to become pretty remarkable, and that comes down to the team. At one point, we had, I think at our peak, it was 230 people, and now we're sitting at about 140. So many of those people, in our last direction update I went through, so many of those people have been here with us for 3+ years, and we have gotten to a stage where they're literally, they're so bought into the vision, they're willing to work their absolute asses off over and over and over again. And we're doing it in a really, really transparent way. I know there's going to be some people out there that are negative and whatever, and say, like, they're not transparent, I can't believe they did that. All the information that we give you, I can guarantee you, is delivered in the most transparent ways as possible. Now, does that mean that we're going to get it right every single time? Absolutely not. Right? Like, without a doubt. And we haven't, and we accept that. We're not shy about that. We've gone out and we've said, we thought we could get things done in this time. It's taken slightly longer, right? Like, such is the way of game development and development in general, right? And so all of that said, it's taken a huge toll on the team. And so, and even as I say that, like, they never complain. They never, get frustrated or angry that we've added, multiple things, mainly me at the last minute saying like, we have to do this, like there's no option, we need to get it in. They just do it, right? And it's been the most pleasing thing for me personally to look at, because this team is just such a beast that will not lay down no matter what. And so that with that, we can't expect to keep everyone. We've done a really, really good job at keeping the really good people for a long period of time, and I think that's going to obviously continue. We've got after we go live with open beta, there's going to be mandatory breaks across the board. We've put in place a bunch of incentives that the global team will get, plus some people on an individual basis, and a whole bunch of other stuff to ensure that they really feel rewarded for the crazy hard work that they've done. And then they're the type of people that will literally, they'll go on their breaks, and some of them I will literally have to force to not look at Discord, to not go and try and update something really quickly because they think, oh, it's going to be a little bit better. And not just some of them, like most of them have that mentality. And so once they go on these mandatory breaks and they really refresh and get into a headspace where they're ready to go again, we build another game, right? And at that point, we have the ability to turn around and say, do you really want to bet against us? Like, this team has built 3 games simultaneously. That doesn't include Illuvium Beyond as well, right? Which can easily be turned into another game. At that point, it's pretty fucking crazy, right? Like, it's not just, are these guys trailblazing in terms of crypto gaming? At that point, once we start competing with mainstream games, there's not many studios out there that can build at that pace, especially when you consider we're not going to build out, at least we have absolutely no intention to, 3 games again at the same time, right? Like from scratch. It's very, very likely that we just go out with 1 game and all hands on deck. Obviously, still some layover with the existing games that we have. We intend to make them much, much better as we go along. But a new game will only be a single game. And at that point, how quickly can we build that? That's the question. And the last thing there is the IP, right? We have that baseline, we have the characters, we have the environments, we have all of this stuff in place. And so it just makes it easier and easier to build new games out. And I don't know, for me personally, I'm not betting against that. There's been all of these naysayers over the last 3 years. They're never going to release a game. They can't do it. That's not real gameplay footage. Well, turns out we were telling the truth, right? It is all real and it has happened. And on the 25th of July, people are going to be able to experience that. For me, again, I wouldn't bet against that.
Nope, not at all. And it's funny because I had a conversation with somebody yesterday, and they were talking about that they felt like the team was really dedicated and really loved what they did, and it just on what you were speaking on, like, I haven't met people that are as infectious as our team. Like, when I met them in Australia and I met them in Italy, like, they are so dedicated to everything they do and love it so much. It's like infectious for you if you're a teammate. Like, even if I'm like, obviously I don't directly, contribute to the game development stuff, but like having that love for the product that they do, it's amazing. It's amazing to work with all of them, honestly.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's good. We can move right into development updates. We have like a few different things here. Progress on Illuvium Zero, Gauntlet mode development, the new features coming to the overworld, combat, etc. And then we released that image with future plans and development. People were just hoping maybe you could cover some of that too.
Yeah, sure. So, Illuvium Zero at the moment, we're working with Apple and Google to get the game up on the app stores, which is really, really exciting. That gives us the way that gives us a way to become accessible to a much, much, much wider audience when it comes to Illuvium Zero. The team is actually on break at the moment, so I'm not sure if people know, but the 5 weeks prior, they did some pretty ridiculous work. I think at one point they were in a Discord channel, and Jeremy jumped in there and said, "Hey guys, you've been in here for 21 hours straight. I went to sleep. You're there. I've woken up. You're there. I'm now about to go to sleep again. What's happening here?" And they were like, "Oh, we're trying to do a 24-hour sprint. We've got to get all of these features in and ready to go before we can have a break." And that's the type of craziness that we're dealing with Zero at the moment. So those guys have gone on a small break. They needed a refresh before they come back. But we're in a really good place in terms of the free-to-play version, in terms of fuel generation. Like the beta is looking so much better. It's playing so much smoother. And it's going to be ready. Unfortunately, it's not going to be ready prior, so that build-up period won't be there. We would love to change that, and I'm not like, Jeremy's probably going to kill me right now. I'm not completely ruling it out, but there's less than a 1% chance that we would be able to do that. So that's why we didn't put it in the update, because we're just not, it's not close enough like the other things like Gauntlet and stuff like that. So that's Zero. Gauntlet mode, they got the first build to us yesterday, I believe. I actually haven't played it yet. I gotta jump in there, but it's looking like we will have a build ready for our launch day, our open beta. But we're going to be very clear about it being an alpha version, and we can with that because it's almost like a bonus to people. No one expected it to be there, and this, as most people know, and if you don't, do some reading up on it. Gauntlet mode, we've decided, won't require any NFTs. It's drawing from a shared deck. It's a multiplayer 8-player version where you basically can play completely free without needing any of the other requirements that Arena has, and there's no team builder either. So it's much faster to get into, much quicker. I've been very upfront personally myself about how excited I am for this mode, and that I would have to say, out of the entire list, the fact that there's a very good chance that we're going to see Gauntlet mode, given that we've now got an extra 3 weeks. I'm super, super happy with that, right? Like, I think right now Overworld is in an extremely good place. There's obviously a ton that needs to go into that, which I'll speak to in a sec. But Overworld, for the most part, really good feedback. People are addicted to it. People are sharing it with other people. That organic growth is there. Arena, that's not the case. right? It's just being completely honest. It's not the case. The good thing there is, though, we have a really good base with Arena. A lot of those systems were in place. Like this apps when we first went to Daniel and his team to say, hey, we've got Arena in a good place now in terms of the systems. We now want to build out essentially a TFT like Arena version, but with our own twist. And I think there's just enough of these new features that we will have that are unique to Illuvium. Plus, you've obviously got the different characters and whatever, but it's close enough to TFT that people will think, okay, this I can understand this. I can pick this up. I don't need to just sit there for hours and hours and hours researching how to play this game. If you're good at TFT, you should just be, the idea is you should just be able to come in and start playing straight away. And it's a very, very high chance that we're going to get it in, but it's very likely to be in that sort of like alpha state, which is kind of okay. If you remember TFT when it first came out, I was speaking to Aaron about this the other day, and I said, when did I join TFT? Like what set? Obviously, every 3 months they change the set, and we believe that I started in set 2. And he was like, do you remember how buggy it was? How like things just randomly didn't work or a game wouldn't complete? And I was like, not really. Like I just, I remember it just being awesome from day one. I got addicted to it. And apparently, I don't know, I was wrong. I've gone back and done a bunch of research on it. And yeah, it was a game that they built really, really quickly. And when we went to our team and said, hey, we need to do this, and not only do we need to do it, but we need to do it in like 3 months, they they were kind of like, Jesus, okay, fair enough, we'll get started. And now they're at a place where it's at least going to be in that alpha state, which I think I'm super excited for. It brings Arena for me up to that stage where we can start going out to esports teams again, and maybe not right away in that alpha state, but it puts it into a place where I think I think it'll be in a much more exciting place than where Arena is now. So with that being said, it was kind of a no-brainer to add that one.
Yeah, and there was a build that I played like a couple weeks ago that was early, but it reminded me of like when we first came out with, even PB1,
Yeah.
And how quickly things went from PB1 to where they are now. Like I'm super excited for Gauntlet already.
Yeah. Yeah. So very, very awesome there. In terms of new features and improvements coming to the overworld, so just generally speaking, I think, as I mentioned, the overworld is in a really good place. I love playing it. I think I put 100+ hours into it, which to some of you'll be saying rookie numbers, like what are you doing? But obviously, I can't spend too much time playing the games, but it's to a point where every day I wake up and I think I need to go and get this character, and that's a really good base. And building on that, things like combat. So the first thing there is I hear a lot of people saying they're going to introduce combat, which means they're going to take away the auto battle, which is kind of funny because when we first launched the overworld and the alluvials were behind the rifts and it kind of looked barren and empty, you go into the overworld, once you found an alluvial and people are like, this is terrible, I can't believe this. I want to be able to smack these alluvials like something like a Power World or whatever. And now that we've added the hunting mechanic and you can actually see the alluvials, there's way more life. We're talking about adding combat, right? Like very, very clear distinction there. Adding it, not replacing combat, not replacing the auto battler with combat. And so people are now saying, no, keep the auto battler. We love it. And obviously it ties in really nicely with the interoperability of Arena, right? It gives the player an education in a live environment that they don't even realize is happening, right? Like I guarantee you, if someone who's played 100+ hours in Overworld, if you said to that person, hey, jump into Arena, there's this new game that maybe you'd never heard of, they would be pretty good at it, right? Like it's like training for Arena, which is a really, really cool feature and something that we always knew. And it's also something that's unique to our Overworld, right? Like no other creature capturer game has an auto battler style of combat to capture creatures. And so when we talk about combat, we're talking about a hybrid where there's going to be a combination of auto battler plus direct hand-to-hand combat with the different alluvials. And so we'll never completely remove it. At least that's not the plan right now. Maybe down the track, if we get a whole bunch of feedback and only, 2 people out there, me and some other guy, like the auto battler and everyone else wants combat, then maybe we change it. But for right now, the intention is to release the combat feature and have it integrated with the auto battler. And so, again, not promising that this feature will be there on launch. It's certainly in a really good state, and you're going to see a whole bunch of updates from us. We'll probably launch another sneak peek video very soon showcasing where combat is at right now. Once it is ready, we do have the testnet build where we can start gathering feedback from people and saying, look, it's in a really early state, go and try out combat, see what you think, and we'll certainly start to do that. But just wanted to make it abundantly clear that introducing combat doesn't mean that we're removing the auto battler. So that was that's Overworld. Now the other thing on Overworld, as almost everyone would figure out now, once you get to, I'd say 20+ hours, the excitement of finding alluvials starts lessening, just purely because it becomes more like I just need to collect them all, which is amazing, and it's a good enough hook, as we've seen, to keep people in. It is still missing that reveal of storyline as you go through. That's why we've introduced missions. That's why there's no one knows how we're going to be delivering the storyline initially, but there will be on launch an added feature where you start figuring out how what the story in Illuvium actually is, and people will be able to uncover that. And we're also working on things like NPCs being in the overworld where you can go and interact with them, and it starts becoming a little bit closer to an RPG that you would be that you're used to. And that's another opportunity for us to reveal a bit more storyline, a bit more lore, character development, and progression. So we're completely aware of it. The most important thing for us was to get that baseline right. And now our work is very much focused on how do we get the player to progress through obviously the hook there is that you do have these alluvials which you can capture. There's hollows which we're introducing very soon. There's dark hollows. So there is that progression there and leveling up those alluvials. But I think a lot of people are waiting for that story element, and it's coming. Right? It is 100% coming. And yeah, so that's the overworld where it's at now. You've got a line here for future development and research. I think the biggest thing there would be that we're obviously going to be doing a ton of improvements to Overworld, to Arena Zero, beyond all of our existing products. But very soon after, I don't want to freak the team out by doing like an IIP or starting to talk about it now too much. But once everyone gets back from their break and they're refreshed, we want to start building a new game pretty quickly. Internally, it's all been the game that's been talked about that makes the most amount of sense is a battle royale, which I'm very excited about as well. And so yeah, that in terms of future development outside of the image that we released recently, which has a whole bunch of different stuff in it. Yeah, it's a new game. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, and I was just going to go back to what you were saying about combat real quick. I don't think Andre's in here. He might be sleeping, although I know he doesn't do that very often. But like, yeah, I saw the combat build, I don't know how long ago now, and I haven't played the one today, but I saw Jeremy and Peter messing around with it, and yeah, like very exciting to see how far they've come in even a short amount of time on that development too. Like same thing with Gauntlet. Yeah, both they're Andre's going absolutely crazy on the overworld though. So good to see. Can't wait for people to be able to see it.
Yeah, and that's the thing as well. In terms of lore and story, I'm just catching back up on the comments. One thing that we're talking about at the moment with Dimitri is a lot of, maybe people don't know, but we got a lot of guys from Hollywood, right? That used to work on Hollywood level movies, from animation, visual effects. Our sound team is entirely from Hollywood, and so that's why you see the level of, while we have outsourced this latest cinematic, there's also been a ton of work through the different teams internally, right? All of the sound was done internally. A lot of the animations, a lot of the whole scenes in this cinematic were done internally. And we think that is the best way to deliver the storyline over time. And it's pretty crazy, right? Like at the start, when we first launched Illuvium, I remember almost 1 in 10 messages were people trying to take a stab at what Illuvium is, like what is going on here, right? Like you've crash landed on this planet, but what is it all? Like how does it all fit together? And I don't really see it anymore. I don't see those people trying to uncover the mystery. Maybe it's because we've got close that the theories are starting to lessen, and people are like, you know what, I'll wait. But there is so much storyline that Aaron and the story team have written. There's enough for multiple movies, multiple TV series, and I genuinely mean that. And so what we've been talking about internally is how do we build up our an internal cinematics team that can do things like story cutscenes, not crazy 2-minute stuff, but like a quick 15-20 second cutscene after talking to an NPC or whatever, and that's how we want to go about things. That's going to be one of the things that we work on post launch is delivery of the story. We need to do it justice, and it's one of those things where it's kind of like you need to get the game right first, and so we put a whole bunch of time and resource into that. But and as I said, the story is all there, and I love going back and reading it every now and again, but the delivery of it is super important as well. And yeah, that's something that we're going to be looking at doing post launch, is building our own internal cinematics team so we can do more stuff like the trailers.
Good deal. I'm excited for everyone to see that. Do we want to just clarify what they will be watching on Friday?
Clarify what they'll be watching
on Friday. Yeah, or for the launch date trailer.
Yeah, so the launch date or the release date trailer. Sorry, this sickness that I have is kind of still lingering. So if I sound very weird, it's I'm super congested still. But in terms of that trailer, it's a release date trailer, and it's a cut down version. So the way a cut down version of the full cinematic, which is I think a little over 4 minutes long, that is going to be experienced in game. We will eventually chuck that up on YouTube, but we want to leave that mystery to people for them to uncover by going into the game and actually playing. So it ties directly into the tutorial. The tutorial as well is also much bigger than what you guys have experienced now. And so it will that cinematic will bolt onto that. 4 minutes long. This one that people are going to see tomorrow now, I believe we're less than 24 hours away, right?
Yep, about 24 hours exactly, I think. Or less. Yeah, less.
Nice. Yeah, so that one is a cut down version. It's got more of a sort of like a marketing feel to it, if you will. There's a bunch of call to action, and it's a little bit shorter, so it's just over 2 minutes long. But they're both amazing, right? Like, as you know, how many times have you watched that trailer?
I've seen it. I've seen it a lot, from every stage of development. So,
yeah, it's gotten to the point like the first trailer. Dimitri and Grant both said to me, they're like, when I finally saw it, I was like, they were like, we don't even know if it's good anymore. And I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, we've literally watched this thing like 150 times, so we don't know. Like, we have no idea, and I hadn't seen it. And so when I looked at it, I was like, oh my god, this thing is fucking insane. Now I'm in the other boat where I've had it available to me for, I don't know, 4 months or whatever, and Jay sends me a new version all the time. And so I'm kind of like, I don't doubt. I think it is absolutely exceptional. I show some of my friends when they come over, and they're like, what is going on here? Like, it's utterly ridiculous. So I know what Dimitri means now because I've seen it so many times. But yeah, this 2 minute version will give you a sneak peek. And like when we watched it for the first time, it's designed to make you, like, you're sitting there going, I need to know more now. Like, it makes the story of Illuvium come front of mind. Whereas I think over the last 2-3 years, as I said, I very rarely see people talking about like trying to figure out the mystery of Illuvium. And I think this is going to spark that again, where people are like, all right, now I need to figure out what's going on. And you get a much bigger picture. I would say at least 2 or 3 times more story and lore, like, is in this trailer, where you'll be able to start like coming up with your own theories on what's happened.
You know, my barometer, or measurement for how good it is, was my daughter, right? Like, she's 7. I let her watch it, and she was sitting there like, well, like, what happens? Like, did you guys make a movie? Like, what happens next? Like, she was already like engaged, like immediately wondering like, well, where do you go now? Like, what, like, it's not finished. Like, what are you guys doing?
No, I know. It's like, how dare you? Like, you've just like, give me the rest of the story immediately. So
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah, so super exciting, that is. Can't wait. Cool. Well, I think that covers a lot of that. We got a lot of questions to go over too. So, like I said, guys, this is all recorded. We'll have it up on the Illuvium Plus YouTube sometime after this if you missed the beginning. And then we'll have a Q&A session at the end of this. And if we don't get to your questions, we'll try as hard as we can. But yeah, there's just a lot of people. 250 were here a minute ago. So thanks for everyone for coming out again. But yeah, we'll move it to the next thing here. It's just overall community feedback on open beta testnet so far. Like, how do you feel? Feedback's been on it. Are you happy with it? And community feedback being integrated into open beta mainnet. Like, how's that going?
Really, really well. Like, we haven't had a situation where the marketplace hasn't worked, or you couldn't buy fuel or anything like that. So I think overall it's been pretty good. Obviously, we've had a couple of issues in the last 6 weeks or whatever, but nothing crazy. Last weekend wasn't amazing, but again, we're that's why we're in this testnet phase. But I think for the most part, really, really happy. I'm super excited about the organic growth that we're getting from Overworld. I can't wait until I think the unlock here for Arena is Gauntlet, even in that alpha stage. As Aaron said in the chat, TFT was very buggy at the start, but it still had millions of players. I think this is going to be a situation very similar where hopefully we don't have the same amount of bugs, but I think it starts pushing people back into Arena. Like, I know for me personally, the minute I don't have to use that team builder style of Arena game, I'm in, right? Like, I'm all in. You add in the fact that it's 8 players, makes it so much better, and like, it just feels better. And so I would love to see us get a version of that out while still in testnet. I think that would be really, really cool to see. We'll be able to gather even more feedback and get people hyped up for the launch. And if we had both games with that sort of organic growth trajectory, we would be in an exceptionally good spot. Then on top of that, you add in the fact that we've got the free-to-play 0 version, which will be on the iOS and Android stores. Plus, there's the ability for people to earn the airdrop. That's when you start getting into, like, you can see how people would be getting very, very excited. We're covering a lot of genres, and we're putting ourselves in a position where we haven't been in before. And so I'm very, very amped up for the launch. I think by the time there's still a huge crunch period, and I don't think people realize the amount of scope that we're trying to add in prior to going live. And hopefully, they will see that very, very soon. But it should all come together really nicely.
Yep. Looking forward to it. Can't wait. So yeah, I think we covered the opening segment at least. We can dive right into some community questions now. These were all submitted by form in various places, Twitter and etc. So we'll start going through these in order. Some of them you may have answered already, Kieran. So if you can just give like a short answer so we can address their question, then we'll be good.
Okay, no worries.
So yeah, we'll start off with Illuvium Zero here. Linky wondering when Illuvium Zero will be connected to testnet.
It will be connected to testnet once we get it working, the app stores. So we don't have a date yet, but we'll get it into private testing as soon as possible.
Okay. Perfect. Mosine submitted several questions, so we got a few from him. Can you provide details on how extra builders will work? Will they be tied to an account, wallet, or land plot? Can they be sold, transferred, or moved? How many total will be allowed?
Yeah, so builders are tied to the land plot via in-app purchases. So not actually supported by PC and Mac to start off with. You can't transfer them, and if you sell them, the buyer only receives the land plot with a single builder. So essentially, it's tied to the App Store account.
Yeah. If you sell your land, it's not going to travel with the land.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Perfect.
That was about 85 questions in one. So that person.
He submitted a lot, believe me. I mean, yeah,
No.
like it was actually good because like we had some people submit multiple questions that covered other people's questions. So yeah. So yeah. How important will goals be in Illuvium Zero, and will they stay relevant into plot development and be interesting in the free to play endgame?
Yeah, super important. So we definitely want that feeling of progression in Zero. It'll help you with earning extra XP and resources. It's also tied to the airdrop as well. Right, so completing those missions is going to get you more airdrop points. More airdrop points means more ILV.
Yep. Good. Easy. Um, we'll just keep moving along here. And guys, if you have questions, feel free to raise your hand. Once we get through all these, we'll, if we have time, we'll bring some people up, and you can ask your questions live. So just keep it to one if you're going to come up, please, and get your thoughts organized, please. So next on the list here, if free-to-play plots have production values equivalent to Tier 2 land plots, could this create issues down the road for competitive features where free-to-play would have an advantage over Tier 1 landowners?
We're still discussing what competitive features we have in IZ. Nothing is set in stone yet, so I don't really have an answer for that. But we're obviously going to make sure that it's balanced and fair, and going out and like Illuvium Zero is always going to be focused on the players that have bought a land plot. Right? Like that, I can say for sure. We obviously want to integrate features that make the free-to-play version sticky, because the way to get people to buy more of to actually go from a free-to-play player into a paying player that goes and buys a land plot is to make them enjoy the game, see the potential of it. Oh, this has been so much fun. If I could also earn a little bit of money selling this fuel, that would be amazing, right? Like, I'm going to take that leap. That is going to be extremely important for those people that are playing Illuvium Zero now, that own a land plot, that are saying like, I wish there was more demand for land. That's the way that we do it, right? If you get a whole bunch of people at the top of the funnel that don't have access to a plot, and then you get them addicted with a few little features here and there that show the potential, it's only going to increase the demand of paid land. And as most people know, I hold a ton of plots myself personally. I invested something like $1.3 million into it. And so, I definitely feel for the landowners, and I want to make sure that we're always looking after them first. But as I said, part of that strategy is making free to play really, really sticky, and that will then convert people over to see what it's like to actually own land. And I really shout out to the person who came up with the training idea. I love that. I think that's really, really smart. It doesn't really affect the economy. I can see it turning turning into a bit of an internal business where arena players, you got esports teams that are like, oh god, we've got to stake, or maybe even if we don't have staking of them, but I do like the idea of staking your alluvial in a training gym. You'd have training gyms that are that considered the best in the world, and that's where people are going to park theirs. They have agreements with esports teams and stuff like that, where that's their exclusive training gym. People start advertising that. I really, really love that idea, and it's definitely on the list for our game designers to start talking about.
Yeah, you could even make it like competitive in a way. You know how like they do delegations for like voting on certain projects. You know, you could
Mm-hmm.
delegate your alluvials to a maybe like a guild that has a training gym. You know, and maybe the more people you have, it does something different. You know.
Yeah,
But yeah, in case
yeah.
you guys are wondering what he's talking about as well, basically this was an idea brought up by the community. We have a feedbacks and ideas channel down below here just a little bit. And community members go in there, they submit their feedback or ideas on things that they would like to see the project develop, Illuvium develop as a whole. And then these ideas get pushed forward, by community, and we have the councils, and the councils will vote on these ideas, and they can eventually be implemented in game. So it's all part of the process, of being a DAO, and having that community feedback actually means something, as opposed to traditional studios where you can say whatever you want and nobody cares, right?
Yeah.
So it's a pretty cool system we got here. But yeah, let's keep moving along here. This next question was just about Tier 0 blueprints. Are there Tier 0 blueprints? And I'll just answer it quickly. No, there's not Tier 0 blueprints. So next one, will free-to-play players be able to buy morphopods on the market and use them in the podarium? Will there have any reason to do this?
No, so they won't be able to play to buy morphopods, but they can go into Overworld and catch them in stage 0 if they don't want to pay.
Yeah. Okay, this is at least the last one on the list for 0 for now. Free-to-play land plots could eventually hold value based on their progression. These may be attractive to other players to reach the end game more quickly. They ultimately be their own NFT, so this progress could be monetized and sold.
So currently, no, and obviously it's a very tricky situation, because the minute that these free to play plots start accruing value, that's when the bots start creeping in. We want real players. Right? Like you see a lot of these games come out and say we have 87 billion players, and it's like, okay, but when we talk about actually like how useful they are, like what value are you getting out of those players? Like it starts to dwindle away pretty quickly. We want as many real players as possible. Obviously, we can't stop bots entirely, but the minute that we start making things free to play and allowing anyone to gain access to it, it can really, really screw up the economy, which is paramount. We definitely don't want that to happen. We've seen that happen with countless other Web3 games. But also, how do we make it attractive to people that aren't a bot, that do have a mobile phone that want to play a casual game, and that's the way that we're looking at it. And at that point, maybe some day in the future, you will be able to transfer those NFTs. And I think certainly the app stores, when we spoke to Apple originally, their stance on NFT gaming is changing rapidly. 3 years ago, you talk about NFTs on the App Store, and it was like, get the hell away from us. Like, we don't want to touch you. Now things are starting to be a lot better for NFT games. So I don't know. No plans right now, but in the future, maybe.
Perfect. Right. Let's shift gears over to the overworld a little bit. And if you guys have more zero questions, just relax. We'll get to more. Put your hand up, and we'll try and get to more at the end. So, this next one for the overworld. Why is Hyperion fuel the most needed? Are there any plans to balance it, or is it economically challenging? The proportion difference is pretty great for open beta testnet currently.
Yeah, so we're across it. Obviously, in the last conversation I had with the economy guys, there's a bunch of changes coming over the next couple of weeks. Where the intention is obviously for us to balance out the three fuels. We don't want people who have bought land to be sitting there like, I've been hard done by. My plot is only producing one of the types of fuels and it's the least used. That's not the intention. Obviously, there are things like converters, but that does give you a little bit of slippage, if you will. Can't think of the word right now, but yeah, you do lose a little bit. So yeah, the intention is over the next few weeks, there's going to be a ton of updates.
Good deal. I guess this is kind of an overarching question, but do we have a time for launch on the 25th?
Yeah, I think so. We've talked about 9 years, but I'm kind of, and that's the way that we've done most of our launches. The trailer is 6 p.m. UTC, and I'm actually leaning more towards that. The reason for us not doing that in the past is it's super early for Australia, and a lot of our back-end devs are based in Australia. And so when you talk about things like security and the issue that we had with Illuvium Beyond, I think it was maybe not last wave, but the wave before, it was critical for them to be online. That's actually less the case now. We've got more people that are overseas in terms of our back end. So the idea of us launching super early in Australia, our market in Australia is only, I think, like 4.5%, something like that. So it's or when I say Australia, I basically mean Australia, New Zealand, and the other states around us. So it's a very small market compared to, say, the US or even Europe and South America. And so I think we're going to go with 6 p.m. UTC for all of our game launches moving forward.
Okay. So,
which should be music to the Americans' ears, who always come out and they're like, wait, why is the game launching when I'm asleep? It's like you realize that there are other time zones in the world.
Or Lars is like, why is Rich up at 4 a.m. again? There must be something coming. So
yeah, but yeah, it makes it late-ish. Like the way that we've been doing it, Europe, they're just going to sleep, and I feel like the Europeans are more, at least internally for us, they're more nocturnal in terms of like, if they have to stay up till 11, they're okay with it, right? But it's not ideal. Whereas you say to Americans, hey, we're launching at 11 p.m. They're like, well, screw you. I'll see you in the morning. And
are you calling us lazy?
I'm not calling you lazy. I'm saying I remember I am American.
Oh
Right?
yeah.
So, but I'm saying I think you're very set in your ways, and if the world doesn't compromise for you, you're like, screw you, we'll show you. So, America, fuck yeah,
I mean, center of the universe, right? So.
exactly.
All right, let's keep moving here. Would it be possible to, this is from Tiago.ron, would it be possible to gain master shard fragments by failing captures with other shards? The way it works currently is obviously you lose your shard when you don't capture, when you fail capture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that we've talked about it, but yeah, we haven't made a decision on that
As of yet. Good deal.
Yeah.
Okay. When will other regions be ready? Which one, I guess, will be ready, and when will they all be ready, etc.?
I think we have an image to leak of that.
I don't know. I mean, Roger's definitely here. Maybe he can leak something.
Yeah, leak one of the images if you're listening, Roger. If not, we have been working on all the regions in the background. I'm not going to let people know the timeline on those. There's still a lot of work that needs to be done, but yeah, that's all I'll say there. I'll leave it there.
All right. Well, I mean, I know some people got a mini leak before of Halcyon Sea, and I've seen like Halcyon Sea, and it's looking amazing. Taiga's looking amazing. Yeah, like I don't know if Roger's not going to share, just ping him. You know, if everyone pings him, maybe
here as well. He can share something.
All right. Well, we'll keep moving. Maybe you guys will see something in chat in a little bit. Oh. Okay. Let's see here. Will we ever know the drop rates from mining, or will that be shared at some point? Are the numbers for mining final? Will they change in the future when the game's live, even depending on market situations?
So, in the game balancing is going to change constantly, right? Like we need to make changes, monitor the effects, all of that kind of stuff. Especially, like obviously, in this period right now while we're in testnet, and that's going to be a constant thing. We don't plan on sharing the drop rates, though. No.
Okay. What will happen with capture rates? What percentage are we aiming at to catch something with a shard of the same tier? So if you have a tier 5 shard, what's your percent on a tier 5 alluvial? Should they stay the same, but be fixed so that they work in a different way, I guess?
So, firstly, there was an issue where the back end wasn't matched up with the client, and so I also share some people's pain. Like you look at something where you've got a 60% capture rate, and you throw 3 shards at it, and you miss. Then you go into another one. 60%, you throw 3 shards at, you miss. Kind of like, am I the most unlucky person in the world, or is there an issue here? And yes, there was a bug. It has been fixed, and so that will update in the next release. But in terms of the actual capture rates, again, it's the same as the other balances that we're doing. We're testing out a whole bunch of stuff, right? Like higher capture rates, lower capture rates, adding things in like the ethereal alluvials, and so at this stage, nothing is locked in. We're just compiling as much feedback as possible to see what works, and then obviously we need to take into consideration the economy as well, which is obviously super important.
Yeah. All right, this is one of our last overworld ones right here. Basically, they're wondering how to bring more entertainment value to the overworld. If we're like, do you think the game is smooth enough as is? Like, will there be a story mode to help keep some entertainment value there?
There's not going to be like what you would typically call a story world, a story mode, but there are a bunch of updates that we're working on, which I've already spoken about. Things like NPCs that potentially even trainer battles in the future, where probably won't call them trainer battles. That's to Pokemon, but yeah, updates where you do a whole bunch of stuff, you go and gather stuff, and then they release a little bit more of the storyline, give you a couple of snippets here and there. All of that stuff is planned. And on top of that, as I said, we're building this internal cinematic team to be able to do like full cutscenes as you progress through. So yes, the delivery of the story is paramount.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll move into the next thing here, which is Arena. Scomex asks basically about matchmaking and playing players that are like far from your elo, basically. Wouldn't it be better to concentrate on only one mode initially instead of having, Ascendant, Leviathan, Gauntlet, which requires many players for, constant matchmaking?
Yes, but I think, at one stage we had, I think at our peak, there was 37,000 people that had played Arena in a month, right? Which is pretty up there and pretty crazy. There's 100% demand for this type of competitive game. When you look at like what Parallel is doing in the space, like some people look at Overworld, and I think they're very different players, right? Like if you like Overworld, you probably aren't going to like the PvP side. If you like PvP, then you probably can. If you don't like PvP, then you're probably more, attached to that RPG type of creature capturer. And so that's why I think as soon as we get this right, as soon as Gauntlet mode comes out, we get a whole bunch of feedback. Maybe it gets like, obviously, Ascendant right now is pretty battle tested. It works, but the player numbers are nowhere near what I think Gauntlet is going to be. And so I don't know how that actually plays out in the end. We've got to look at it first and see how many players Gauntlet brings to Arena. But yeah, so in short, we don't have an answer on what we're going to do in terms of long term. But I think just generally getting this new mode out is going to get a whole bunch of people trying it out, and we're looking to get those numbers up very, very quickly. Which means if you get good at Gauntlet, that I feel like is the carrot to start playing competitively. And that once you've done that, and you're like, okay, now if I can make, you need to get a little bit lucky to be able to fill your team up the way that you want to. If you get good at the Gauntlet style of game, then you might be inclined to say, okay, now I'm going to go into Ascendant where I can literally build out my team and start playing competitively. So I think we've gone the opposite way, right? Like we've gone like super niche in Arena, and instead of it being like more of a casual fun game that you can just chuck on and start playing and learning, we went for like the hardcore style of almost like a chess type game. And yeah, I feel like that there's still a huge audience that will play that, but if we get them in with Gauntlet first, we'll hopefully see a whole bunch of migration over to the other modes.
Deal. Can't wait to play Gauntlet. I didn't even play TFT before I joined the team, and I somehow got hooked on it. So I think it's definitely going to be possible.
Yeah.
Okay, next, this is from Caveman Could you explain how you envision Arena looking in the first week of launch? Will pre-made decks, free rotation be available at the start, so people can start playing with those in the ascendant mode, whatever?
Yeah, there was always plans to have the pre-made teams. Are we just losing teams now and calling them decks? Like, is that where
I said team, didn't I?
did I lose that battle? Yes. Okay. So pre-made decks that they will be there. Free rotations they will be there. That's obviously the we don't want to gate it to you have to have alluvials, otherwise you can't play the game at all. We need that free to play element. Hopefully that's what gets people interested in going onto the marketplace and buying some more, or going into the overworld and capturing them themselves.
Yeah. Um, Perfect. We can move into Beyond then, and I thought we would have more questions about this, honestly, because I'm looking forward to the next wave of Beyond. But yeah, Benet was asking if there's any plans for Beyond, if we know any more details about Beyond Wave 3 coming, will prices stay the same, odds, etc.
So yes, Beyond Wave 3 is absolutely happening. That's another product which I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on. I absolutely love Illuvium Beyond. I think it's such a cool product. We were speaking about this the other day in our marketing meeting. It's a weird one. We're maybe in a position where we've got two promo partners, and either one I've been talking about for a long time, absolutely huge in the crypto space, and I think have the potential to bring us thousands of new users into the Beyond product. The other one is more like a really cool mainstream brand that I think will resonate very well with our audience. But I was kind of like, wait a second, if Illuvium Beyond, which we've all agreed, I don't agree with it, but I've accepted it, I guess you could say, isn't going to launch until after we go live. And we don't want it to be too close. It's probably looking like September, very, very early September is when we start Wave 3. We've almost finished all of the artwork for Wave 4. That's how far ahead we are. In fact, I think we have finished 4 and we've even started on 5. So there's that. Now, in terms of the partners, it was a weird one. Hamilton, who, if those of you who don't know, Lauren left, our old head of partnerships, left to start his own VC firm. Hamilton came across. He used to work at GameStop. He's now our head of partnerships. He's doing a really good job. And the other day, he was like, "Can we have 2 promo collections inside of Wave 3?" And I was like, shit, I actually haven't really thought about that before. I mean, I guess we could. I don't see any reason why we couldn't. Obviously, there's, you don't want to chuck too many of these promo partners in, but when you look at the caliber of the 2 partners that we're thinking here, maybe it could work. I think just purely having the games live and how many new people we've added to the ecosystem over the last like 3 to 6 months, I think just generally the next wave of Illuvium Beyond is going to be pretty big, especially when you start talking some of these partners. But yeah, so I don't know. We're thinking early September. We've got some really good options in terms of partners, and so no, it's not a situation where we're just throwing Illuvium Beyond in the bin. Trust me.
Yeah, I'm super excited about that. I was planning on saving a bunch of my Wave 2 discs, but you know how that goes. I couldn't help but open them, so I need more discs.
I've still got discs, actually. I think the plan is for me to give a few of them away in trivia. I will say it feels so good to still have discs. Like, I don't know about you, obviously have run out.
I mean, I think you owe me some, probably. At least I'll tell you that.
But yeah, like I'm one thing that I'm definitely every single wave is load up severely right at the end, just because I don't know. So every now and again, I open up Beyond, I open a few discs, and it feels good having that ability.
Well, and it's good. Like, I think I don't know if he's here, but Fight for ETH. Like it's good to have like them around. Like we're
Mm,
easily onboarding people into some part of our ecosystem by just giving away stuff. Like so people have PFPs. Like at some point, people are going to come to the game and
yeah.
be like, "Why don't I have a PFP?" You know. So
And obviously, Beyond right now, it is going to turn into something more. I'm trying to think what I threw out the other day. I don't want to speak out of turn here, but oh right, yeah. I was this would, as you know, or maybe you don't know, but I'll let you know. Gauntlet is all about the cosmetics, right? So while you don't get any advantage and the alluvials are available to you, there is a different finish on the characters. And the idea there is we want people to think like, whoa, what's that? They're not skins, it's a different finish. And so you'll look at these alluvials that someone plays in Gauntlet. If you own the character, it's different, and you're kind of like, what? How come he's got that or she's got that? Like that's frustrating. I want that too. Well, go and own the alluvial. I thought a win that we could give to Illuvium Beyond players is not just if you own the alluvial, but if you own the alluvitar, then either I think from a work standpoint, we don't want to add any extra work. So at a minimum, maybe we just have it be the same cosmetic effect. But you could technically have a beyond effect and then an alluvial effect. And if you own them, then you put your Ramfire out, and you're one of the 200 people in the world that have that. You're the only one that has that cosmetic. That straight away is like, what? Why does he have that, or why does she have the Ophisto she's playing is glowing in that crazy way? Like, I want that. Well, guess what? There's only 100 of them in the world. If you want it, pay me $5,000.
I'm looking forward to battle boards most. I think Roger just shared
Yeah.
one in the chat, but yeah, let's keep it moving here. We're already at about an hour and a half, so there's some questions around the airdrop. So, have you considered the unintended consequences of motivating people through monetary rewards like tokens? Much evidence shows that rewards can turn into work, with people losing their desire to play.
I mean, obviously we've thought about it, but like anything, right? If you back your product and you think it's sticky, people love it for the entertainment value, then you don't think about it as work, right? Like that airdrop comes at the end of the month, and it's like, wow, that's an awesome bonus that I'm getting. That's the way that I see it, and a lot of these games out there that they'll even give you an airdrop for creating, which equals 8 billion people that create an account, but it's actually only 5,000, and they're just creating a whole bunch of bots, right? Like that sets a pretty bad principle. For us, it's always been about create really good gameplay that people love and enjoy, and then anything on top, like this idea of an airdrop and giving out ILV tokens was always there. It was there 4 years ago. That's why we portioned off 1 million of ILV for that exact reason. And no, I think it's an extremely effective marketing strategy that we have. It at current value, we're talking a war chest of nearly 90 million in ILV that we can give out to people. That's a very large marketing bucket. We don't have $90 million US that we can go and start spending on ads or influencers or partnership campaigns. So in that respect, it's really, really effective, and we've just got to monitor it. This is our first, not our first, but this is our largest campaign to, and we're going to be very, very mindful of what works, what doesn't, and then in the future, campaigns will be tailored around that feedback that we.
Yep. Good deal. How will earning airdrop points change with mainnet? Will it focus less on playtime and more on missions, quests, or other criteria? Will paid activities be worth more than free-to-play activities?
So yes and yes, there will be the dashboard for you to go and complete missions. There's daily missions, there's weekly missions, and then there's longer form goals for people to achieve, like capturing all the alluvials and stuff like that. And so inherently the actions that require you to pay will give you the largest reward in ILV or points.
Yeah. And okay, so then kind of on the same or similar to these two subjects, like are we seeing bots try to farm airdrop points? I've had this come up a few times, and like, what's our plan to deal with it? Do we see it as an issue, like people getting Sepolia ETH and stuff like that? Do we see it as an issue, or are we worried about it at all?
So we haven't seen anything yet, which is really good. I think the reason is like what I've spoken about. We don't incentivize people for creating an account, for example, right? Like the minute you do that, yeah, it's going to look like Illuvium has hundreds of thousands of accounts, but you're literally just paying one person 50 times because they spent the time to go and create an account. I think the other key reason we haven't seen a crazy amount of or any sort of botting pattern is because we don't have a mobile version, right? Like in order for you to be able to go out and play the games right now, you need a decent PC or a Mac. I think we need to be super careful of that once Illuvium 0 goes live on the app stores. That's when things can get interesting. Someone can have 50 Android phones, stapled to their to their desk and be farming the shit out of it. But then it's only going to be a small subset of the rewards go to Illuvium 0. And so I think just inherently we're protected in that way. In terms of like the conversation that's going on right now about people being able to go and buy alluvials and that's counted to the airdrop, there's a lot of benefit to that, right? It actually gives value to Sepolia ETH, which in turn gives value to the alluvials. It means that people are much less inclined to just sell an alluvial at a stupidly low price. And so we start getting to a closer point, obviously not the same as real ETH, but we get to a point where things are a lot more closer, and that has huge benefits for our economy team. And yes, there is money on the line here, but it's only 10% to start off with. I know we just added an extra 10,000 rewards, but it's a very small subset of the rewards. And if it gets us 50% closer to replicating what the real economy is going to be like, that is worth it for us to be able to optimize that pricing. And so that's why I'm not opposed to it.
Yeah. I've had the conversation with a few people over the past few days, so good to clarify. Okay, so we got about 3 more questions here, guys, and then at least on the list of questions here, and then we'll bring up some people that have their hands raised in order of. I mean, are you on a time limit, Kieran? I just had somebody pick up my daughter, so I'm good for another 40 minutes or so.
No, not really. All good.
Okay. So yeah, we'll take
7:30
questions.
a.m. Yeah, never awake at this time.
We'll take some more questions from hands raised, and yeah, we'll keep going. So this should be a pretty quick one. When is, I guess, when is the testnet? Is the testnet phase going to continue all the way through to the open beta mainnet phase?
No, so we are going to have a break. It's probably going to be. We're discussing it at the moment. I like the idea of a 1 week break just to get people hyped up, excited again, like wanting, chomping at the bit to jump back in. And yeah, so that, I mean, I think the longest we would extend that out to is 10 days because there's also a benefit to us gathering as much data as possible for the economy team. But yeah, I like the idea of a 10-day break.
Good deal. Good deal. Do we have a policy on multiple accounts, or players playing on the same account at all?
As in, like, I give my account to someone else type stuff?
Yeah.
So there are policies for this, and obviously we saw that with Arena when people started making multiple accounts. I think for the most part, people were trying to navigate it, right? Like there was, situations where people want a training-based account, and all of that is fine. It just needs to fit in with our reward structure, and there will be things like similarly to how we did with Arena Awards. There will be situations like that where you can have multiple accounts, but it may stop you from being able to earn in different incentive programs that we have.
Yeah, I know a lot of people were either, making accounts to test stuff, like you said, or even, just because they wanted to start over their elo, right? They wanted to do different things with the elo. So, all right, this last one is about influencers. As far as influencers gaining airdrop points in by getting referrals, right? Converting people.
Yeah, so it's not the same as the ILB rewards that are going out for the airdrop. It's a completely different pool, but yes, they'll be competing against each other to bring in as many new players as possible. The more they bring in, the more airdrop points they will earn. But I don't want people thinking like, oh, that influencer is going to call content creator is going to come in and steal all of our points because they brought in thousands of players. Even though that would be amazing, I think it needs to be kept separate, and that's the way that we're doing it. Okay, I'm reading the chat, so I'm like,
yeah, no, I was saying that was all the questions, and I really appreciate everyone submitting them ahead of time. It's really amazing to see the turnout here. I mean, we got 220, I think 250 plus at one point. It's really great to have everyone active here. This is like one of the biggest town halls we've had in a long time. So glad everyone could make it out. We were definitely in a better time zone for EU. I know that was a complaint before. So yeah, we're going to take some live questions now. Just raise your hand if you have one. Just please keep it limited to one question. Make it clear. Try to be concise, and so we can get to as many people as we can. So yeah, first we'll bring up Patate. Make sure your mic's working too, please. Here we go. Patate, I just invited you up.
Hey, Rich. Hey, Kieran. Thanks for the AMA. Asking on behalf of Bart, what are the plans for Guild in Illuvium?
as in, like just broadly speaking, or anything specific there?
As much as you can. The plan, either short term or longer term.
Yeah, so eventually we want to be able to have functionality in game where you show what guild you are a part of. We obviously are going to lean into a bunch of competitions where we are sort of pitting guilds against each other. Friendly, of course. You know, we don't want things getting a little bit crazy, but we understand that there are hundreds, if not thousands, of guilds out there now, ranging from 500 members all the way up to 500,000 members. And so that's definitely part of our strategy moving forward. We're also working with a third-party partner to have functionality that allows guilds to basically fund an account, and people that don't necessarily have enough money to go in and start doing the non-free-to-play stuff, they can receive a little bit of fuel from their guild or their guild leader or whatever it might be, and that will open up even more opportunity for guilds in the future. But yeah, that's at a broad level the plan for guilds.
And I'll just make a comment there too. Like, thanks for coming up, Tate. I'm gonna move you down, but yeah, like we've had, and I'll just say we have like 2 guilds that have been super active. We've had several guilds that have been super active for a long time in the Illuvium community, and I just want to give a shout out to Hype Guild and the Phantom Guild, because they've been amazing at organizing and helping out the community, and they've been running these hunting events since we've had open beta mainnet or testnet now for a few weeks on end, and lots of rewards and fun. I mean, I think we had like 70-60 people streaming in Discord at once. So these guilds have just been really great for us, and helping out the community and making sure there's fun activities for everyone to do. And if that sounds like something you guys are interested in, there's 2 more of them coming up this weekend. They're doing them weekly at this point. So it's a really great event. If you don't know what you're doing, you can come in and learn how to play, learn how to, it's all inclusive, so you don't have to be an expert to come in and play. Super cool event these guys are hosting. It's in the events calendar, so you guys can check it out. Yeah, but so just appreciate
shout out
those
as well to Fam Guild. They're a smaller one that I found the other day, and I was watching a streamer and started talking, and they have 120 streamers in that guild, and over the next 6 days, it was 7, but it started yesterday. They're doing a 24/7 coverage of Illuvium. They're massive, big time fans, which is really cool. But yeah, they've started streaming Illuvium, so if you can go and check out their streams and support them, that would be awesome.
Yep, definitely support all our streamers as much as possible. All right, we got Sneaky Poke up here. How you doing?
Hi, doing good. Big thanks to the team. 3 games and 3.5 years or whatever is just so huge. Had a question about the staking rewards program. It's ending in July. I was just kind of curious about the future of that.
So yeah, we've had that conversation quite a bit in the token channel. I think all good things need to come to an end. Now, having said that, the reason they call it a bootstrap liquidity program is it's initial liquidity that we're looking for, and at a certain point, you get big enough that you can not have all of these rewards that are being sent out, which is obviously really good for inflation. And but having said that, there is we don't want that decentralized pool to get to a point where the liquidity is so low that slippage is all of a sudden a problem for people that are looking to buy large amounts of ILV. However, it's less of a problem than we think, right? Like if you go and look at the volume that's coming out of that pool, it's usually between sort of 5 and 10% of our entire volume, right? So I would argue that over the last, call it, 12 to 18 months, there's been it hasn't been worth the amount of ILV that we're distributing to people hasn't been worth the amount of liquidity that's in there. Obviously, we're the largest pool on Sushi and have been for the last like 2.5 years, but there's so much liquidity in there that it almost is too much. So I've made multiple comments where there's like 10 to 15 different things that we can do in the future if it becomes a problem. But given how small the volume is coming out of that pool when compared to our total volume, and the fact that even if we lost 20, 30, 40, 50% of the liquidity, would still be in a much better position than almost every other protocol. It is less pressing, but again, it's something that we're monitoring. We're very, very aware of it. But I think that the biggest thing there as well is that we have a situation where a ton of people are going to unstake, and it's going to be really interesting what they do with that. They're obviously going to get a portion of their stake back in ETH. And the question is, do they use that ETH to go all in on ILV? And if they do, then there's going to be a huge benefit for us as token holders. And I think with revenue distribution starting, there is a chance that a lot of people have set themselves up to they realize that, okay, now I'm not getting that advantage on my rewards because they've gone down and they're no longer distributing ILV. But the revenue distributions portion of it, it doesn't matter if you're in the ILV or the ETH/ILV pool. And so if their intention is to try and get as much percentage of that, of the revenue distributions, which are just about to start, funnily enough, it's lining up almost perfectly with when our token rewards system is ending, then their best interest is to get out of that pool and to go straight into the ILV pool. Not everyone is going to do that. I still genuinely think the fee structure with Sushi is going to mean that it still has plenty of liquidity. But the people that do, that's a lot of additional ETH that is potentially going to flow directly into ILV. So we're monitoring it. It is it's something that I think we need to be very wary of, but I don't think we need to go crazy and start like taking fees out of revenue distributions and giving additional to that pool and stuff like that. Not yet, anyway.
Okay. Okay, next up we got Spiral Logic.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep. How's it going?
Hey, yeah, I appreciate Kieran's remarks about the vision of the team and the state of development. I just have a question about the market and the recent changes there. I would just say the primary concern is about the unjustified extraction of value from the campaign that Sepolia whales or hoarders can basically engage in throughout the campaign, since it's very easy to acquire Sepolia. And I'm especially concerned when it comes to the direct purchase of Stage 3 Tier 5 alluvials, because that's a very significant gameplay action or action in terms of gameplay hours to just completely circumvent. So I'm wondering if there are any plans to take steps to mitigate people boosting their allocation by 50+% entirely by virtue of their testnet balance.
So again, we already touched on in terms of the economy, but at a certain point, in order to game the system, if you will, you need to purchase those alluvials off someone. Now, if someone is holding them, in order to get the bonuses, if you've gone and captured that ramfire, you need to make a decision. If I go and sell this for a stupid amount of Sepolia ETH, it might give me the ammo to go and buy the other alluvials that I'm missing in terms of for my own ILV airdrop points and rewards and the mega hunt and all that kind of stuff. And so you start having to actually think about your decisions, and that gets us closer to replicating a real world economy. Obviously, we can't stop everything, but if someone is willing to go out and spend there's no benefit for someone selling a tier 5 alluvial apart from I'm using up all of my Sepolia ETH, or I want to use that money. And again, it's a big decision to go and capture a Ramfire and say, I'm going to sell it for any price, right? Because obviously that gives you a ticket into the mega hunt, and it helps you with your airdrop points accumulation. If you're going to sell that, it's genuinely going to be for the ability to further your own airdrop, which again replicates a real economy. And so that's my stance on it. Obviously, if there was an IIP that came out that said, hey, we think we should stop this, we could do that. We are fully decentralized, and that's something that we could implement. But I like the idea that we're getting closer to a real economy before we actually start.
Yeah, I do too, personally. I think I think just not everybody has realized the implications of selling stuff yet. Like you're basically selling your airdrop point.
Yeah.
So
now, why would you do that, right? Like there has to be a reason to get more, or it's to be able to play the game more yourself because you're running out of Sepolia ETH.
Yep.
And at that point, you're just spamming stage 3 runs, which is not really helping our economy either, when we're talking about trying to work out like what percentage of people are going to go into a stage 1 versus stage 2 versus stage 3, when it's real money on the line. If you've gone and sold your Ramfire, right, and you're like, okay, well now this will give me X amount of stage 3 runs, it all of a sudden becomes real, right? Like you might get to a point where you're like, well, it took me so long to get that Ramfire, now I'm selling it. I'm not going to be stupid with spamming stage 3 runs if I think I'm going to run out again, right? Which again, it starts creating a real world scenario of the economy.
Yeah. All right. Next up, Caveman. How you doing?
Hey, Rich. Hey, Kieran. Thanks for having me up. I'm just reaching out as a follow-up for my question I asked earlier about the pre-made decks and the free rotation. The follow-up question would be, during that first week, or realistically even that first month, are you going to scale those? Because right now, at least when Private Beta 4 launched and the Open Beta, the pre-made teams were really strong. Like even after 50 to 100 hours, us making a team that can compete with those was kind of unrealistic. So my question would be, can we have that so it scales so that the people who are actually going into the overworld grinding, they actually do have an advantage when they go into arena? Otherwise, it's almost unwise to play with those teams until you're way deep and you have a very large collection, because they just don't compete against the free rotation, at least the ones that we're currently had.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got 4 people that are working in-game balancing. So stuff like that, we're in a much, much better place. Whereas when we first launched, we were scrambling to make the game less buggy and make sure that it works and all of that kind of stuff. Now we have a lot more time to optimize things like that. And yes, absolutely, it should scale.
All right. Izzo, how's it going? You're on mute. Do you want to ask your question?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're a little bit muffled, but yes, I can hear you.
Cool. Great. I'd just like to say thanks for having me up, and congrats, Kieran, on the new addition to the family. I was just wondering if there was any concern over the loss of utility for alluvials with the switch to gauntlets, since you don't, go into a battle, lose, and then have to go back and get the new and better alluvials? How they'll just be cosmetic? Is there any other plans to improve the utility?
Yeah, so a lot of this comes down the different reward structures that we have. Things like tournaments are obviously going to be heavily leaning towards the gameplay modes where you do require alluvials, and it's Gauntlet is meant to be that gateway into arena, and so and into going onto the marketplace and buying teams and going through that. Like, if you get good at the game in the free-to-play version, which is much easier and accessible, then there's a much higher chance that you're going to go even further, start building a team, and then playing those tournaments, which are going to be heavily rewarded. So there's that reason for people to still want alluvials. Obviously, as well, any additional games, you're going to want to have those alluvials as well. And then the third reason is the cosmetic value that you get out of it. I think people are underestimating when things go live and you see another player that has really cool looking alluvials because they own them, even in Gauntlet mode. That's going to be a reason why people are going to want to go onto the marketplace and buy them, especially on that lower end as well. Like, there are going to be alluvials where you can pick up for, call it 50 cents or $1 or whatever, or maybe even cheaper. And when you think about that, in a typical game, if you want to go and buy a skin for something, it's going to be like 10, 15 bucks. So if you want that advantage over the opponent, say like, I've got something cool that you don't, it might not even cost you that much money to get those lower end alluvials that I'm talking about. If you can go and pick up like 30 of them for 40 bucks or something, then it's actually super cool. It gets you more motivated to look at like what's going on here. Maybe then you try out the overworld. And so I think it's more important for us to and then the last thing there is, overworld is all about capturing them all, right? Like, for me personally, I want not only all of the alluvials, I want them all in hollow, and I want them all in dark hollow, and I want to do that by capturing them. That's that progression that everyone does in, you know, all creature capture games since the dawn of time. And so, you know, while like Power World doesn't have any utility for their characters for another game, Pokemon doesn't have any utility, or I think they did in one of their games, but for the most part, Pokemon doesn't have any utility. People just want to go and collect them all. And so I think it's less of a problem than we think. It obviously was a huge debate. It was one of the reasons why we hadn't launched something like this previously. The tipping point was when we saw that barrier to entry was so high for Arena that we started losing players, and retention was nowhere near as high as what we wanted. At that point, it's like, okay, do we want a ton more players, or do we want to gate this to only, you know, a very small subset? And I think the answer is we want more
players. Yep. More players is good. Tension is good. See here, Omniferous. Omniferous, bringing you up. How's it going?
Hey, good. Just two quick things. I was just curious if what the scope is with multiplayer. I think it would help with stickiness a lot to be able to experience the awesomeness you guys have created so far with a buddy. And then the other thing is too, I remember people talking about night and day cycles and potentially weather effects as well, just to help with the immersion of the overworld, which is already super immersive. Two questions there, and feel free to be as brief as you want with that.
Yeah, I actually haven't heard anyone talk cycles. It doesn't sound like it would be too hard to implement. So definitely something that we can think about in the future. In terms of multiplayer and where that's at, there'll be something very shortly after go live that we put out. It'll be a really nice video teasing what multiplayer is going to look like, and that's all I'll say there, right? Like, as you know, we've tested out a version. We already have a concept where you can go into Sanctum Mesa and you can see your friends, and you can start even shooting at your friends, which is kind of more a proof of concept for the battle royale style game. But we've tested it; it's working, and now it's just a matter of polishing what we have, and soon after go live, we can start working on new features like.
Awesome. Was that both questions? I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just one other question I've seen asked a few times. I think you covered it earlier, but I see a lot of people asking it around when the tracking dashboard will be available for airdrop points.
The intention is 30th of June.
Okay. Perfect. Amazing, guys. It was very good. I think we're at about 2 hours exactly. I don't see any more hands raised. So, we got one more right here, Rexy. We call this the last one?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. Rexy, come on up. You had a question? I've invited you up to the stage. Oh, maybe they put it up by accident. Okay, well, here they are. How's it going?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
I had to change my settings on my phone. Yeah, the question related to the time frame for fixing the performance issues on Mac computers. Was trying to get an update on that. I think there was an Unreal Engine update that may have caused some issues, but
yeah,
have enough time to kind of get in before the end of the test net.
Yeah, we definitely want to have things fixed up like quicker than you think. Obviously, the end of the now is middle of July, so we definitely want things fixed up by then. I don't have a date for you, unfortunately. I do feel your pain. I am one of the 2% of people that play the game on Mac, but I'm also quite wary that we've sort of trained people to play on PC over the performance is definitely much better. I know myself, I haven't owned a PC in like 15 years, and sorry, some kookaburras have just decided to come onto my balcony and do their. Sorry about that, if you can hear that. But kookaburras are like a native bird in Australia, and they have this really weird call that they do in the morning. That's not monkey.
That those weird pigeon-looking things?
No, yeah, I guess you could call them a pigeon. Yeah. So anyway, I feel your pain, but I'm a little bit wary of us saying, "Oh, it's only 2% of our players are on Mac," because if you did what I did, you went out and bought a PC, which I said I would never do again. But yeah, so look, we support Mac. We've gone out with that. It's been like that for 3 years, and this has obviously been the worst version that we've ever put out performance-wise for Mac. We are aware of it. We are fixing it. So yeah, just please bear with us.
Oh, cool. Awesome, yeah. I test on Mac a little bit to help them, but yeah, I mostly play on my PC.
So what are we talking about here? We got 21 hours trailer drops?
Yeah, that's what I was just going to go over, basically, about what's coming. Yeah, so we got the trailer coming, the marketing portion of the trailer, and then that'll be tomorrow. Make sure you get on YouTube, on our official YouTube, and subscribe to that so you can be there. We also have we'll have a watch party here in Discord. We'll all hang out and watch the trailer together, and that'll be over in a few minutes. And then we'll have some good Kieran trivia, good old Kieran trivia. And if you haven't been a part of Kieran's trivia, we usually try to drain his wallet as much as possible. So it'll
not anymore, especially after the team bonuses. But yeah, I'll see. I'll see what I can scrounge up.
Yeah.
Also, I will say this: if you've got a Twitter, go on to the latest release trailer tweet that we put out and share that. I'm going to pick out a few people who have shared that on Twitter. We'll do it randomly. How much ILV are we giving out? I think you said much more than I was willing to give, actually.
Tomorrow?
Yeah.
I think 50.
Jesus. I mean, so you're saying 50, but there's only 20 questions. Is that?
Yeah, but we're gonna give it out other ways too. Like we'll do some marble racers. We also have some merch to give out that we need to get rid of, and probably, yeah, we got plenty of stuff to give out. I just figured I didn't know if you'd be able to come up with 50 trivia questions. So
I can, I mean, usually I come up with trivia about 10 minutes before we announce it. Given that I have 24 hours, I should be able to put together 50 questions. Maybe not 50. Let's go with 40, and we'll give 10 extra ILV out randomly.
Yeah, we got some merch to give out, like I said too. So we got plenty of stuff to give out. Just make sure you're in the Discord tomorrow for the watching the trailer live, and then we'll kick right into that event right afterwards. And then
same time, right? As this.
Yeah, close to. Don't have.
Oh no, it's a little bit earlier even. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's like
2 hours earlier.
4 hours ago.
God, that's dangerous. Question. That's right at that point where it's like, do I sleep or do I just go through decisions?
So yeah, we're gonna have an awesome day tomorrow, awesome Friday for everyone, and then just after that, like I said, there's a couple other events happening in Discord. The hunting event brought to us by Hype Guild, and then about 16 hours later, I think is the hunting event by Hype, and there's like 15 ILV for one of those and 10 ILV for another one. So lots of stuff going on, lots of stuff to look forward to. Loyalty airdrops coming too pretty soon, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I hear. What was it? Tuesday of next week it's scheduled for?
I don't like to give dates, but sure, sometime next week.
Sometime next week.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
But yeah, everything's looking good. And yeah, just real quick, appreciate everyone coming out. This is recorded. It will take me a little bit to get it up, and I will link it once we're done. And I appreciate everyone coming out. We're happy to have you guys here. And yeah, it's been amazing, man. It's going to be an exciting rest of the year.
Thanks, everyone.
Yep. Thanks, Kieran. Later, guys.